Thank you so much, and we will continue in English. Also, buongiorno a tutti in italiano. So we are living in a very exciting time, I think, because not only is it a difficult time because of what's happening on the planet with COVID, but it's also a time where we need to also take a deep stand for gender balance, for nature, for sustainability and regenerative activities. So coming together here today inside of the CEO for Life with a theme of SDG is very important. And a lot of women here we're going to hear from today are already doing a lot for women. And sometimes the work is hard and sometimes one gets tired and so on. So I also want to acknowledge all of you for doing this, sometimes even on top of other jobs. So we hope today to inspire everybody who is listening today to also do their little part, a little extra effort as we create a world that is working for everybody, for all women and men, and for all generations, and for nature herself. So today we'll have some introductions. We'll ask Morena Pivetti, who will speak for us. We're also going to have 3 different panels, where the first one we're going to look at what are the big picture, what's happening, what's the world in transformation, what's going on. And then we'll look a little bit into new ways of leading in this time. And also how can we together inspire the future? And I'm using the word inspire because also as women, what can we do as new ways of working, new ways of operating? It's not the old command and control. Perhaps there is another way where we can shine an example on new ways of doing things. So this is the agenda of today. And I will now pass the word over to Morena, who will open, and you hear from me, more from me as we move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristin, and good morning, everybody. The first thing is, as you all know, the pandemic is still hitting Italy, so we are in lockdown. So we are still in a situation, a very difficult situation. And I think it's clear for everybody that there is a pre-pandemic time and a post-pandemic time. And I feel that women risk to pay the highest price, as the statistics in Italy already show. And as I will tell you, in a very short time. So let's start where Italy was in December 2020 before the pandemic. And Italy was most of the times at the bottom of the EU rankings and the EU statistics regarding women. And of course, I regret to have to admit that this is the situation, but it's better to know that it's from here that we are starting. Where was Italy? The employment rate in Italy, I will start with a few economic indicators because I think economics tells you where things are. The employment rate was 48.5% against 62.4% of the EU average. So we are the last one in Europe regarding women employment, and the unemployment rate for women is 2 points higher than for men, almost 12%. And if we consider women between 15 and 24, a third of them, 34.8%, are unemployed compared to 14.5%, which is the average in Europe. And another indicator is women manager in Italy is just 27% against 33% in the EU. And 40% of women employed are in health, shops, restaurants, and hotels, welfare, and school. So it's a higher proportion in respect to the other countries of the Organization of Economic Development. And regarding the pay, women get 60% of the income of men. And other indicators, social indicators, we have only 25% of children between 0 to 3 who can attend nursery school. And in the South, it's just 10%. And also, if we talk about primary school, only 1/3 of Italian schools go into the afternoon with a long time, and the other one end at 1 o'clock or at 2 o'clock. So making it very difficult for women to work. Another indicator that I think Tiziana might share, Catarci might share with me, if we talk about science, technology, engineering, and math, 37.3% are male, the ones that attend, against 16.2% of female. And then, as a general indicator, the Gender Equality Index, Italy is 14th in EU, with 63.5 points over 100. So this is the situation regarding economics. Of course, this has an effect on demography. Last year, it was the worst year in Italy for newborns, and we had a minus 300,000 Italians concerning deaths and newborn. And also, all of this reflects on politics. And when we look at mayors and region governments and member of parliament and minister, we are very disappointed because we are not nearly half of it, of what we should be. And as I said, the impact of the pandemic risks to worsen all this scenario. According to the numbers released by the National Institute of Statistics in December in Italy, we lost 100,000 jobs, and of these 100,000, 99,000 were women. So, because the sectors that are most badly hit by the pandemic are exactly the one in which the women are employed, and also because there are more women with part-time jobs, fixed-term jobs, or precarious jobs respect to men. And also, I think I've talked with a number of women, listened to seminars and webinars. Smart working, if it's it gets you more opportunity on one side, pushes back women inside the house, and with the children that are on remote schooling. So women have to attend their children that are on remote schooling, then they have the household, then they are working. And also it seems that women are less able than men that switch off the computer when the 8 hours have passed, and they tend to work more hours when they are at home than when they are at work. So my feeling is that we risk of losing the positions because of the pandemic. We risk of losing the position we conquered, which, you know, so many efforts in the decade. So we need, one thing I think is before us, we need to regulate smart working in a way that doesn't penalize women. So what do we expect it to happen after the pandemic? I think in Italy there has been a new wave of women empowerment commitment, as probably many of you have heard. It started in Europe by half of it, meaning that we want that half of the funds dedicated to Next Generation EU are used to help gender equality. And on this goal, there has been a lot of movement in Italy, and from December on, there is this group of women called Donne per la Salvezza, so Women at the Rescue, half of it, and to which there are 30 organizations and the trade unions that adhere, also single women. And their main goal is to bring women unemployment from 48.5% to 62.4%, which is the EU average. And they're asking the government to use the funds in this direction, also because since the Next Generation EU is mainly on green and digital sector, these are the sectors mostly held by men and not by women. So we have to be, we have to push women employment in these new sectors. So sustain and implement women employment, help a business led by women, which by the way are the ones that grew most in the last few years, and also create new nursery schools so that women are able to work, double the primary schools that go in the afternoon, and invest in health, welfare, education, the sector where women are most employed. And then the other thing that they are asking, and they wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, and they are asking for a meeting with the Prime Minister, is to introduce gender procurement, to work to equalize gender pay, and also to create an authority for gender equality. So Draghi's government, we posed a lot of hope in Draghi's government, the new government, and it was in some ways a disillusion and a frustration because we expected to have half of the minister, and instead it's just 8 women out and 15 men out of 23, and the women are in the less important jobs. So I think we have to work a lot also on politics in order to be half of it, because if we are not half of it, we are not going to change how the way things are run. But also I feel that the next generation, as it is called, is once in a generation opportunity for Italian women to have themselves heard and to make steps forward, also to reach the same levels of equality that is the average in Europe. Now, we are not satisfied in Europe, but I think we are less satisfied in Italy. So I think we have to push. And I think there are a lot of movements and journalists, academics, different organizations, business women that are trying to go in this direction. So thank you for your attention, and I give back the floor to Kristin.
Thank you so much, Morena, and thank you for giving us such a good overview. And I also want to thank you as a journalist, because also having aware journalists that are on top of the topic is extremely important. And with your long-standing quality experience and career, I want to thank you also for keeping it up and keeping the word and doing an extra effort for this, because some of the media is a very important influencer and an important key in our common work. So thank you so much also for your...
If I may just add, there are a number of Italian newspapers, Corriere della Sera, Sole 24 Ore, Repubblica, they are adding new spaces for women so that women can talk for themselves. And I think this is very important, as you said.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a leading change agent in that, I'm sure. So we will now move on to our panel here today, first one, on setting the stage, a world in transformation. I think we have a slide coming up here. And we have with us 3 amazing women. Simona Scarpaleggia, who is the CEO of Edge. Simona is also quite known for her role at IKEA. She was the CEO of IKEA in Switzerland for many years, also very active in IKEA in Italy before that. She's also been very outspoken on the women's issues. She was the co-founder of Valore D in Italy, and then a similar organization in Switzerland afterwards, Advanced Women, and many other things. She's speaking on women's forums and WINConferences in many places for years. We also have with us here Gabrielle Kluck, who is the director of the Office of Ombudsmann and Mediation Services at the World Food Programme. And that Gabrielle has also been in many UN organizations, and also on top of her normal jobs, been active on the cause of women globally. And it's a big passion of her, and she's also spoken at many events. And originally Dutch, she has lived in numerous countries around the world. Tiziana Catarci, she's head of the computer engineering department at the Sapienza University in Rome. And besides her job as an academic or head of the computer engineering department, she's also active in the Most Powerful Women Italy organization, which is an association of the most powerful women in Italy, and really doing an amazing, outstanding job there. So I would like to hear from our 3 panelists in this session. What are some of the changes that are going on in the world right now, which is obviously the COVID, but also there is digitalization, there are other changes going on as well. And how are they impacting on gender equality, women's advancement, women's leadership, and or new ways of operating? Maybe I can ask Simona to go first. Please, Simona.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, many things have already been said by Morena Pivetti before and by you, Kristin. And then I wanted just to frame it. When we talk about change, in fact, we talk about something that is intrinsic in our existence. The moment we are born, we start changing, and nature changes continuously. The thing that is happening today is that this change is on a global scale, happening contemporary everywhere. It's cross-sector, cross-industry, cross-organizations, cross-society, and it's very, very, very fast. And this COVID has been an enormous accelerator of the changes that were under, cooking underneath. So the point is how to tackle this change. And I see that either we are passive or we embrace it and do something out of it. The three big changes that I see and that are very much intertwined, in my opinion, are everything that is connected to climate change, the climate crisis we are going through, the growing inequalities. I mean, the data that Morena Pivetti mentioned about women in Italy are not better, even if you take them in an aggregated way. And yet, if you think that women are half of the world population, they in fact produce 40% of the global GDP and 75% of the aggregated care unpaid work. It's a scandal, how, the waste of human capital and potential we have. And the third big change is, of course, the introduction of new technology and the digitalization. But if you bring all this together, you see that the way we will tackle this is a matter of sustainability, which is at the heart and the center of what we are discussing today. And also, it is based on two main factors. So sustainability is based on minimizing waste and regenerating resources on all dimensions, economic, social, or environmental. So what are the learnings of this? I think that the three main learning we have is, first of all, we need to consider that we're not moving in a linear way. There are cycles that we need to accept and tackle, that we have to do this together. There's no more space for individual, either country or people or company domain. It has to be a shared approach to these big challenges. And the third is that you mentioned, Kristin, it's a completely different paradigm we have to adopt. This command and control, and it's really over, and it's losing, it's not successful. We need to care about people and the planet. We need to share information, resources, ideas. So no more secrecy about everything that is not a competitive advantage anymore. And we need to embrace this change and also change the way we approach it. Women are a fundamental resource there. And we start measuring where we are. Very concerning figures we have heard so far, and there is a plethora of those. But starting from measurement, then you can set goals and you can reach those goals and follow up. So I think that it's about time for us individually and for politicians who are pretty stubbornly overlooking this phenomenon, I would say, and companies to intervene and not only make declarations, but also start acting.
Thank you, Simona. It's also interesting what you're saying. The old way doesn't work anymore, and some are still stubbornly keeping to it. So I think there's an element here of trusting now that our time has come individually and collectively, as you so beautifully said. I'd like to hear now from Gabrielle Kluck also. Gabrielle, you work also in the World Food Programme and with disasters and crises. I'm sure you have much to say now of the changes going on and how that impacts both on gender equality and on equality in itself.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kristin, and thank you for having me here today. It's a very special event, Seal for Life, and a very special organization as well. So I'm really joyful that I can be here. So for the United Nations, there's actually three pandemics going on at the moment. One that we all talk about, then the one that we don't want to know about, which is a hunger pandemic. COVID creates enormous hunger around the world. because of supply chains being disrupted, and because we don't buy anymore the products that we before used to do when we were able to go out. We don't travel anymore, so we don't bring our money to those countries that have tourism as their main income, or as a great deal of their, a great part of their income. So the hunger pandemic and the World Food Program, that is for us a very big concern. The other invisible pandemic is domestic violence against women and children. Secretary General has talked about that. That's the silent pandemic. And there's countries where it has increased by 5-fold, and that's in Western democracies. The violence against women and children has increased 5-fold during the pandemic, and the end is not yet in sight. So, and this goes then on top of those big issues coming at us that we need to also act quickly on. One is the digitalization that Simona also mentioned. And the digitalization and artificial intelligence, if women don't participate in that and don't help co-design that, then we miss out on that, because we will build systems that have an inherent bias, a built-in bias, which will be a male bias. Right? And the other, of course, big thing is climate change. Climate change also creates a lot of hunger, creates a lot of violence, which create a lot of hunger because people migrate and they lose their means of existence. So, you know, these are a couple of few things, 3 big pandemics, of course, COVID, hunger, violence against women and children, and then digitalization and climate. And I like to add one thing there, which is very controversial to say, but overpopulation on this planet is a huge problem. And despite that we had the reports of Rome, and now I live in Rome, in the 70s, and I grew up with this. This was gonna be my future, and here we are. You know, the guidance or the conclusions of the reports of Rome have not been taken into account, right? And so the planet is slowly being devastated by human occupation, if you like. I always like to say that we are guests on this planet as human beings, because we came last. The animals were first, the biodiversity was first, and look at what we have done to it. And so for me, if we look at what is you know, are the biggest issues at this moment, if we don't start relating in a different way to the planet and to its inhabitants, to, you know, start having respect for the animals, start having respect for the biodiversity, these viruses will also come back. You know, research clearly shows that. If we don't have respect for the planet and its inhabitants, we will keep having hunger. We will have keeping devastated economies. And I think it requires a huge change of our paradigms, which we need to leave the concept that humans are at the front. We cannot survive if we co-create with this beautiful planet. I'll keep it to here, Kristin.
Thank you, Gabrielle. And it's interesting, Simona mentioned this thing of collaboration. We can't think only as individuals, and here you are talking about. So this way we need to look at everything in a systemic way somehow. And also something interesting Gabrielle said is almost unspoken about overpopulation. We hide a little bit even the domestic violence going on. So we are, and I think it's time actually for all of us to be realistic here and to look at what is as what it is, and not hide and cover up anymore, because even if it's an ugly picture, we need to look at the situation. So thank you for mentioning that, Gabrielle, very, very useful.
And if I may, exactly what you say is a force that comes from women, because we're more prepared to look at things how they are. It's the nature for us, right? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Tiziana, you are working also in the middle of engineering and computers, and please share with us your take on this and the forces and happening. Tiziana,
yes, thank you for organizing this very interesting event. So let me say that we are in the middle of the digital revolution. And now everybody is realizing this, because I mean, it's going on since many years, actually. It's like the Industrial Revolution, when electricity was discovered and so on and so forth. But now everybody is experimenting it in the everyday life. You need to know some technology to participate in a meeting, attend a lesson, order a pizza. Now, which is the problem? The problem is that this digital revolution is not only doing this, it is the key to solve the big challenges. We couldn't have data and information about the pandemic if we do not run data analytics, if we do not carry on machine learning. So technology, digital research, digital science is much more than having a Zoom meeting. And this should be made clear to everybody. Otherwise, we are getting, oh yes, it's so crucial, but we are, you know, it's crucial to order pizza. That's not the point. It's crucial because it's changing the world. And here is the second point, and let me add some data to Morena's data. We have only, in Italy, only 4% of people working in ICT out of the total population of working people. Of these, only less than 15% are women. So if you multiply this data with a simple multiplication, you get that only 6 women out of 1,000 work on ICT. Like, you know, we are in the panda area, okay? Then, second point, at the university, less than 15% women are enrolled in computer science and engineering courses, ICT courses. And this number is not growing. Is not growing despite the efforts that we are doing to enroll more female students. So women are just spectators of the change. They do not participate. They are not the key actors. And it is necessary a big action, a big effort at political level, and in my opinion, also at media level. Because until women in technology, women in computer science will be represented as either strange person or as exceptional. You are I am the head of a computer engineering department, so I am definitely a panda. Look at me, it's a species that should be preserved, okay? We are, I don't know, few, not only in Italy, few in Europe, in the world, in the Western world. Okay, so you have to be exceptional, exceptionally good. This is not true. I mean, you need just to be a normal woman, maybe liking math or technology and so on, especially math, especially problem solving. However, this is not the stereotype that is represented outside. And girls do not come. They are afraid of being either nerds or not be adequate. And that's a big problem. It's a really a big problem because we are losing the power of diversity. We are building a future made by men, only with a man vision. And we could also talk about ethnicity. That's another problem, but I leave this for the rest of it.
Tiziana, maybe I just go on with you and ask you one question here too, because no, we are creating new ways of working, and there are many opportunities also. But as you say, women, either the girls think they're inadequate and they don't want to be, or they don't want to be called a nerd or one of those things. What do you think maybe this year has taught us that could put light on this as an opportunity for young girls as well as young women to, or older ones too, to go into this field?
I don't think so. I definitely don't. I am sorry to be not optimist. I am typically a very optimist person, but in this case, it's not true. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see at least a couple of problems. The first one, from our data at the university, we are a very large university. I can see that there is a huge increase of female students in medicine, biology, and things like this. And this is due also to the media, let me say, because it seems that if you want to save the world, if you want to save the planet, you have to study either medicine or things that have to do with the climate. There are many different. No, you don't need to study computer science. That's completely wrong, because if you do not have a computer scientist, you cannot save the world, definitely. Okay, yeah. But this is not the message. So we do not see an increase in female students in our fields. And that's a problem, a big problem. The second one, let me take one more minute, is that, and this was said also by Morena, that smart working is a bad tool as it is interpreted. It brings back the women because it is intended as for women only. So women have to reconcile. Women have to deal with the house, the kids, and so on, and to work. And this is, you know, the storytelling is that smart working is great because in this way, women have the possibility, the time to reconcile personal life and work life. I mean, this is horrible in my view. Yeah. And completely wrong. Smart working is good for people if it is interpreted in the right way, but for everybody.
Thank you, Tiziana. It's interesting how our conversation this morning is also a call towards being real. It feels like, okay, let's look at the problems in the face, and here they are, and now we will move on also looking at how we can solve them. But before that, I want to hear back to Gabriella, one more question, one more statement from you about new ways we have learned this year of working and what are some opportunities.
Well, thank you, Kristin. And well, I share the worries of Tiziana and who was it before us. Flexibility is good. Flexibility is good if it is inherently related to inclusion of diversity. What we're seeing is that it's leading to exclusion of diversity, and that's not okay, right? So that's again a paradigm shift that we need. If we look at work, we should be looking more about the outputs that we create together in network-like settings, in a more egalitarian setting where different expertises are honored, and not from a hierarchical standpoint where certain people have to say things over others. Hierarchies by definition are abusive. We need to start realizing that. Presenteeism, you know, having to have visibility at work, you know, networking at work gives advantages to men in particular. And therefore, we need to redesign our ways of working to make them really inclusive, right? And to make them inclusive, we need to examine ourselves on our privileges, on what we think are our templates for what a leader is, what an expert is, what a caretaker is. And we need then, once we know our current template, we are able to redesign them, right? And one challenge in this all is, and specific in the humanitarian context where I come from, but also for anyone who works from home at this moment here in Italy, with family, with children, with homeschooling, with housework that has to be done. How do you recharge yourself? So how do you still make also for yourself a priority in a context where there is very limited human contact, right? This is our biggest challenge. How can we feed our souls and without this direct human contact? And digital is not the answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Simona, do you have a last statement you want to say about an opportunity or one of the what you have learned this year before we go? Oh, your sound, please. Lower left corner on your Zoom.
Sorry. Yes, it has already been said. We need to really put people at the center, and all these opportunities that come from digitalization, which are in fact, as Tiziana Catarci was saying, opportunities, they need to be seen not in a linear way, but as a fantastic opportunity to include and not to exclude, to deal with problems that are bigger than us, and also to reduce the inequalities. And this is also a way to take away all the alibis, because women and at work were considered part of the workforce that needed to be fixed and supported. That's not the point. The point is that we need to fix the process and the culture, which is a different ball game, right? And the other thing is that we should focus not on technology per se. Technology is neutral and can be really well utilized, but the impact of technology has to be taken care of from an individual psychological point of view and from an ethical point of view. And still the conversation there is not so developed, I believe. But if we put people at the center, and this is my optimistic way of closing my reflections, is that we will tackle women and all the intersection of the different dimensions of diversity. We will build a climate of trust, because with no trust, this will be a complete disaster, a total everyone against everyone conflictual environment. And through trust, we bring forward the concept of ownership and accountability, because now it's about time to keep people accountable. There's too much of big commitments and declaration, and there's not enough of being responsible for what you say. The day after is another commitment, another thing, and nobody challenges you. And this, as citizens, we should do.
Thank you so much, Simona, Gabrielle, and also Tiziana. I think what I'm hearing from all of you is this a call to be real, ownership, accountability, time to trust. And also this time of illusion is somehow gone. We don't have time anymore, ladies. And it's time to no longer fix the women. We have to look at the culture, the processes, and so on. And also, Gabriella mentioned this thing also to look at herself, what privileges do I have? I need to examine me, maybe before I start criticizing the others. And how can I regenerate myself in this time that may request a lot of ourselves? So make sure we get the rest and do what we need to regenerate. That's also part of sustainability. Thank you so much. Also much. I wish we could talk even more and more. And I know people can find you also after. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are now going to look at what are the new ways of leading in this time. And I think I will get a slide up here. For next speakers, yes. So as we look at new ways of leading, we will hear from Tiziana Mele, who is the Managing Director of Lundbeck in Italy. Antonella Santuccione, the head of Stakeholder Liaison and Alzheimer diseases at Biogen, and Annika Farin, who is the global chair of Amrop. So let's start with Tiziana. And Tiziana, in this time, how do you lead your organization and also find inspiration and more than anything, perhaps resilience? How do you deal with working from home and all this? Are there any new discoveries?
Thank you, Kristin, and it's an honor to be part of this great panel. Oh, yes, last year was an unprecedented year, an unplanned year, and in front of such event, I have just used the transparency, authenticity with my team. I talked honestly with them, and I also encouraged my team to dare to be creative. Also because what I told them is that I experimented the beauty and the power to fail fast, because in front of an unplanned event, you can also have some mistakes, but it's important to recover so fast and to adjust your plans. This is my great lesson from 2020, and I tried to express with the authenticity to my team. This is the point to your first question. Smart working. Many points were already being raised by my colleagues in the first session. I am not a big fan of smart working. Not only for the impact on women, but also because I strongly believe on the power of co-creating, being together. We have different vibes. There is a different atmosphere. And in terms of efficacy, being together, it's completely different to be in front of a screen. So if you ask me, what about smart working? I'm not a big fan, even if I recognize the importance sometimes, but for me it means twice per month maximum, if you have to manage other stuff. But I strongly believe in working together. And last, about the future, and about the reflection, it's said that difficult times sometimes made better people, and I strongly hope that after this pandemic we will be better, and we will be able to replace the me culture with the we culture. We need to cooperate, we need to collaborate, working together. We will be able to build a different world and a better world. This is the reflection from 2020.
Well, thank you, Tiziana. You mentioned that you had the chance to talk a lot with your team, and you felt you could be very transparent with them and also encourage creativity. So in this transparency, did you feel you were more transparent now in this time than maybe before?
Yes, maybe because it was required. Yeah. It was the only way to be credible in 2020, to be really transparent, because in front of an unknown event, telling the story as you were aware of the story, because no one have the magic recipe to manage a pandemic. I think that was really, really important in order to have your team on board. Yeah. I was telling the story that I knew at that time, and to be transparent, and also to be authentic. I think that this was key for my team to follow also clearly the direction that I was giving.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I think that sparks some humanity, right? So, which was mentioned in the earlier panel, that we need so much. Antonella Santuccione, I hope I got your name correct. So how about you in your leading of your organization, and also all the stakeholders that you are working with? How do you see you can lead organization in a different way right now? Are you there? Antonella?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for, first of all, having me on this panel discussion. I really feel privileged to be with the audience of the CEO for Life. I have to disclose before answering your question that I am here having several hats, let's put it this way. I work as a head of Alzheimer stakeholder engagement for Biogen, but I am also the CEO and co-founder of the Women's Brain Project, which is an organization that it's since 2016 trying to understand the impact that sex and gender might have on brain and mental diseases, as well as medicine in general. Now, whatever I will disclose and will discuss together with you, it's going to be, of course, my personal opinion. And to your question, I have to say that while on my, let's say, daily job, which is mainly within the organization I am officially employed with, things have been challenging because, of course, you start a new task, you start in a new role, and to reinvent the way of working, given the pandemic, has not been the easiest way to do, but we are slowly getting there. When it's about the Women's Brain Project, being already a very strong, successful team used to work in a virtual setting, because we speak about 60 scientists spread across the world, I have to say that the pandemic didn't change much for us. We were also used to work in a very flexible setting, because it's about evening calls, weekends calls. Most of us are there as volunteers. So I have to say that things went very smoothly. Additionally, while the pandemic has been a tremendous setback for women, as we heard from the other panelists earlier, for us it has represented nevertheless an opportunity, because for the first time the COVID-19 pandemic has showcased to the world the impact that sex and gender differences has on medicine. Being women, actually, though representing the main workforce at the front of patients management, less confronted with severity of the infection itself. And on the other way, men have been more prone to experience major, let's say, complication because of the infection, as well as mortality. So I have to say that when you live in such uncertain times, you have to make the best out of it and try to find the opportunity that can be arising for you. Of course, it is not the case for everybody. And what I'd like to bring across is the concept of the syndemic, which is the effect of a pandemic that might differ in different group of the population. So the concept of syndemic that has been heavily discussed by experts in the field of medicine even before this specific pandemic says that while certain groups might even benefit of this situation we are living in, others might be heavily impacted, or the impact that can be in certain group might differ. In other words, what I wanted to say is that certain people might be hit by the complication of a disease, so biologically impacted. Other groups might be on the other way around, impacted in a socioeconomic way, as we are hearing for women specifically.
Yeah, wow, this is very important also that information is spread around the world so that we know more also how to prepare for, because one thing is the pandemic, but there will be maybe other pandemics and many other changes coming up also. I think we have ahead of us quite an uncertain time. So very interesting also that you're taking on the Women's Brain Project, because that's something also that we have been talking about for years, all these differences and how much more research needs to go into that field. Yes, so what about for yourself as also as a leader now in this time? Did you find more time to be creative, be more silent, you know, this type of inner leadership traits that
I have to say that when it's about being a leader, it is about moving people forward. When it's about being a boss, it means to bring the work to an end. Of course, the ideal situation would be a leader and a boss to be combined. But I think that when it's about my person, my leadership attitude went across several directions during this unprecedented time. First of all, I felt morally obliged to advise my region where I'm coming from in Italy, which is Abruzzo, with information that we have received by one representative of the Women's Brain Project, a medical doctor, Dr. Evelina Biscap, who left Europe in January, actually, end of Jan 2020 to reach Wuhan. And she has been able to provide us information on what the Chinese population was doing to manage the infection. So what we did was to serve local governments, but also the scientific community with this type of information. I advise you to still listen, as we're still in the middle of a pandemic within Europe, to her podcast that was published by the New England Journal of Medicine with Evelina, describing very detailed what has been done in Wuhan to manage the infections. So this was a part of leadership, when you just have the opportunity to pass information to government. When it's about then myself, I have changed a job in the middle of a pandemic. So I took the risk of reinventing myself in a new organization, moving from one organization to another. I had the opportunity to write a book, which has been published last week. And it's about, again, sex and gender differences in brain and mental diseases, reflecting my personal story as a medical doctor, a young medical doctor and neuroscientist, navigating not only the stories of the patient I've met, and so giving them the voice in the book, but also navigating my personal journey and describing to the audience what I, as a doctor, had to experience, unfortunately, on myself and become stronger, so transform myself. The book is titled Una bambina senza testa. And finally, when it's about leadership, continuing to let the Women's Brain Project grow, we are going to establish highly likely the first sex and gender precision medicine research institute in Switzerland with a global reach out. So we didn't rest even 1 second. Actually, I felt even more obliged to act, to have an impact and not rest, because what can be meaningful for women, the hitting of this pandemic on us, posed me in front of a moral obligation to do even more and showcase what women can do even in the time of a pandemic. Being a mother myself, having 2 children, having 3 jobs, and an husband still, which supports me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Antonella.
You're welcome.
And I would not like to hear from Annika Farin on her leadership journey, what she's been doing to lead your organization, find inspiration and resilience in this time, any discoveries also made on yourself in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, first of all, also thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here and also to listen to all of you and your insights. It's really great to hear that. Yeah, you know, when I became chair of our group, maybe briefly, we are a professional services firm and primarily focusing on executive development and search. Represented in 50 countries in the world with more than 600 people. And when I took on this, the lead of this group, it became clear, it was a moment when we could only see the pandemic sort of arising. And then when I was in this new role in May, it was all there, and we had to change everything. I mean, the way we organize state, but the way you lead the organization, normally we have a board. We meet 4 or 5 times a year normally physically. The board is represented from people all around the world. All of that was absent. Yeah. However, we had to be innovative and think about it, and we enormously raised the level of communication within our group. So everything went virtual within weeks, and I must say it has given us a boost there. I must say it has internally grown the level of communication, but also equality and bringing everybody together. If I may say, probably for years in the past, we've been a bit, I don't want to say lazy, but things were comfortable. You know, you have your ways of meeting and working and so on. And now we were pushed to make a change. And so we introduced sort of many new ways of sharing between all sort of levels, where also So, you know, hierarchy was less important, but, you know, at least every month, everybody comes together in the organization, things like that. So that has given us a lot of sort of interaction, which was positive by all means within this very, very difficult time. Yeah. I felt that decision making has actually for us been faster because we were pushed to do so. Yeah. So where that was my observation, that actually we've taken for the last year, of course, also given the circumstances, we have taken decisions quicker than we used to be in terms of internal decisions. However, and this is where I fully agree with all of you and the things you've mentioned before, nothing can change personal interaction. And there's a level that we cannot reach. And also we can, of course, see that with our clients that we work with around the globe. That, I mean, you can, of course, an executive search process, you can still run quite nicely in a virtual way. But when it comes to sort of deep reflections and thinking on, you know, appraisal of executives, of people, and when it's also sometimes tough decisions that are taken, you cannot do it virtually. Yeah, that's
it's so interesting what you're saying. I mean, we're all sort of longing for a hug, as somebody said the other day, but even these vibes of being in an office is interesting. So somehow now when we have been working from home, and sometimes some people are living alone, some have husbands and children or parents they're also taking care of, but some are also living completely alone in these days, you know, and there is also has given us perhaps even more work as you prepare, help with dinner and school and I don't know what, but also for many people also it's time to look inside because of the silence. And I think that has also given us now also a time to look at our own leadership styles and how to be with each other. I remember myself in the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't realize how tired I had been running around the world and so on. So it was a time to rest. Then it was the time of economic uncertainty. Oh my God, are we going to do that? So that gave me a chance to look at my fears. And, you know, so we have, you know, all these processes that's been going on. And Annika, tell me a little bit, because you are also working with many other leaders. Have you noticed any reflections that the other leaders are also doing on themselves, perhaps in this time?
Yes. Actually, I mean, this is probably now very broad, but of course you see people that just go on like ever. I mean, I think all of us see this and say, okay, everything's going to be the same. However, we can also see with many of our leaders with our clients a lot of rethinking of what are actually the leadership qualities we are looking for.
Yeah.
And this is where we come to the topic we've been discussing for the last days, sustainability. But it's really about the individual we're looking for, and it's not just about communication and strength and fast moving and go-getter and all of that. Yes, we need that, but we need the depth and the deep reflection and the mindset that is long-term thinking, and is, as we said, less about ego, but it's about the community. And we are very, very positive about seeing within many client organizations a change happening and a lot of initiatives. So I believe, as tough as this is now, and it's going to stay on for a while, I guess, with us, that there is an opportunity for us to see change happening. Also, in terms of gender equality, I believe so.
Thank you for sharing that future-oriented vision, we can say, about that. Tiziana, can you share one statement about your vision for the future when it comes to organizational life and leadership?
Yes, again, just to remark what I said before, I think that it's time to replace the me culture with the we culture. I hope that in the future we can collaborate and we can reflect on the importance of co-creating and also collaborate with different institutions and different companies. Both Antonella and myself, we are from a pharmaceutical company. I hope that in the future, pharmaceutical companies can have a common goal working together to reach greater and greater results.
Yeah, well, that's great. So from me to we.
Yeah.
Antonella, last statement from you on the visions for the future in this organizational office.
I will first of all echo what Tiziana just said. I think that in unmet areas of medicine, the winning way it is to reinforce partnership. And again, the pandemic has showed us that this is possible, that when there is a common goal, humankind can join together and achieve what was believed to be not possible before. I also do believe that there will be the way for a personalized type of approach, which span from welfare up to medical solution. And my motto is that when we will start to change the word difference, which actually divide us most of the time, with the word characteristic, we will achieve a more inclusive, equal world, ranging from, as we said, a more equal society up to a more inclusive medicine and way we do medicine.
Thank you so much. Annika, do you want to say any more on your vision, or was it included in what you just said? I think it's fine, yeah. Oh, we don't hear you, Annika.
You're on mute, Nick.
No, just in general support what my colleagues have just shared. There's one thing I would just like to say, which we had with the first team. It's if we can also get an equalized power, among the genders. That to me is a personal vision. Yeah, it's I would like to say and see in 10 years' time the 50-50 ratio. I think that's to be a number we should all be aiming for.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's more balanced power, definitely.
Yeah.
So, wow, thank you, the three of you, for sharing about yourself and about what your thoughts are. We talked about here the power of transparency and authenticity, daring to be more creative, daring to be more transparent in this time, new projects being born out of this time, new jobs being taken. Also, Women's Brain Project is a new project. We talked also about the importance here of less hierarchy, Annika mentioned, even if it's there. But, you know, working online has also given some new chances for everybody to meet. And then we talked now, vision for the future is about moving also forward to more of a we culture, which includes a gender distribution of power and partnership amongst even companies in the same industries and so on. So thank you very much for sharing this, and we're going to go now into the next session. Thank you. So our next session is about inspiring the future even more here. So what can we do? We have heard that the world needs us to think about sustainability, about partnerships, about we cultures, and many of these things. And I think it's going to be interesting to hear today from Mele, who is the CEO of Alver. Mele has a long corporate experience in DuPont, in Nestle, and other organizations. And then she started her own company, Alver, which she will share with you more with you about. But it's also very sustainable product that she will share more about. And the same with Claudia Pievani, CEO of MioMojo, I hope I said that right, Claudia, who also worked a long time in corporate, started her own company precisely with a mission for a more sustainable future. So Mele, can I start with you? What do you do through your organization also to pioneer a more sustainable future, one that's more inclusive and one that's more gender balanced?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's just great to be here. Thank you for being invited. What we at Alver is all about sustainable nutrition and also reducing hunger. For over 25 years of my career in the food industry, I was actually really for two topics actually really passionate me. One was, of course, diversity. We started to work for diversity at DuPont together with Kristin. I was just looking now, it was in 2011. So it's 10 years now. And it is a great advancement actually within the 10 years what we have achieved. But of course, there are things needs to be done. But then I felt actually, yeah, diversity is moving well. My second passion is about hunger. And maybe actually like Gabriella, I grew up with the information that we will be living hunger. I was very attentive in the primary school when we were talking about that. And it really touched me, and it just follows me over the years. So from SDG goals, zero hunger is actually why we have created Alver, because Alver is a microalgae which can be found everywhere. And this microalgae is the first life in the world. So it's actually over 5 billion years old. Out of the SDG goals, we also with microalgae can get good health goal, health and well-being satisfied, because it's actually the microalgae and macro. So I was just looking at the SDG goals of our company. We fulfilled 9 out of the 17. So it's quite a big number. You know, of course, the third one is the gender equality. I have to say, I don't have gender equality. I have more women in my company. We are now 12, and with 12, we are having now, we have 12 people in our company. So they are all, and only 2 men. So I'm sorry about that. But I think it's just okay compared to others. So I'm just in a macro way, we are contributing to gender equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That it's. I mean, maybe as you say, you are more women now, but perhaps in a transitionary time where we are rebalancing this workforce around the world, I think it's totally okay, right?
Okay, good.
Claudia, I want to hear a little bit before I go back to Nina with some more questions. I want also to hear from Claudia here now first. What are you doing in your organization with sustainability, more gender equality, and creating an inclusive future?
Buongiorno a tutti da Bergamo. Thank you very much. Well, everybody knows now where Bergamo is, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Because of the pandemic. So we just had the 18th of March was the day when you probably all saw the army bringing away all the coffins. So that was still, when you see these images, it was like, oh my God. And we were in the middle of it. We were the first one, and everyone was looking here, even for us on our social media, everyone was asking. There was an incredible engagement rate all of a sudden because, yeah, of course, everyone was watching and fearing about their future destiny as well, and watching what we were doing. And yeah, it was tough, but at the same time, I must say that we wondered about the big reaction that we had in this city and also in the company. So we just stayed in lockdown there was a big lockdown at the beginning for 3 weeks, but then actually we have worked always from the office. And that for sure has helped us to, you know, have the energy and support each other. And we all of a sudden had a different role because we were also inspiring others. Those that were watching us, they were, of course, they had they felt this positive energy, and so they felt inspired. So this was really nice, you know, in that time to have also this role all of a sudden. Anyway, sorry about that. Back to your question.
No, it's okay. I think it's very important you mentioned this because it makes the moment more real in a way.
Yeah.
And, not to
So,
forget earlier.
you know, as Mele before, we don't have the problem of gender equality because we have just 2 men. All the rest are women. And I guess it is because I must say women are more, well, first of all, we are in the fashion industry, but also I also receive many more CVs of women who want to work with us. Because, and mostly it's not because of the fashion, but because they see that we want to contribute to something better. So they, I of course try to have a team where the values that we have as a company are shared. And I must say that there are more women that have, you know, want more to care for the planet, to care for all living beings. And so, you know, it's not that I wouldn't like more men in the team, it's just what happens.
Yeah. Claudia, can you also share a bit more about what you do in case people don't know it, and how through your fashion company is actually trying to inspire and create that more sustainable future?
Yeah, you know, right now, after COVID, or in the middle of COVID, but after COVID happened, sustainability has become really a buzzword, right? So all of a sudden it's just everywhere. And for us, it was just the foundation since I founded the company. So in late 2012, I definitely wanted to have a company that contributed to something more than just creating beautiful things. Of course, the creative side is for me very important, but I wanted to combine that with something more. Which was a kinder way of producing stuff, kinder towards all living beings. So for sure, we never used and will never use materials that are coming from the abuse or the death of animals. And that's already very sustainable, especially, you know, as we have seen that we really need to rethink our relationship with nature and with the other living beings. So it's very sad what is happening. We are all suffering about it. We are all suffering both psychologically, emotionally, and of course, from the business point of view. On the other side, I feel that it's what we needed. And I hope that we will use this really as an opportunity to change. I mean, it's an opportunity, I think, for humankind. And if we don't use it, well, we are just waiting for the next one to come. So it means that we are not smart enough to understand that this is an opportunity. So I feel that, as someone said, if one race, one gender, or one species feels superior to others, that's really the source of all evil. So in a sense, I'm pleased to see that the new generations are extremely concerned about what they buy. So they are more conscious. They want to buy from companies that mean something, that contribute to something. And, you know, today is just a moral imperative to do things differently and to support the planet, nature, and all living things.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you, or let me ask Mele first, and I come back to you, Claudia. But it's very interesting, this thing that the young people are catching up to that, and that this time has been a wake-up call for so many. Mele, I want to ask you also, because in a way, we are talking about moving into the future now with new technology. We're going very fast. But you also mentioned something interesting, I think, that the microalgae, the algae that you're using for your product, is also one of the oldest living plants or algae that actually came on the planet 5 million years or something. So and Claudia also using a natural products for bags, you're using cactus skin, you're using a different material that has been here forever, almost. And so it's, as we're going into the future, we are also going back to some basics perhaps. And Mina, tell me a little bit about that in your situation, when it comes to sustaining and inspiring the future, but also this thing of using the planet and regenerating ourselves and everybody who is part of the planet. Please share some of your thoughts.
Funny enough, actually, there is, when I heard for the first time, planet doesn't need to saving. Okay, now, because planet will suffer, we will have the climate change, but actually we need to be saved because planet will stay.
Yeah.
So the planet will stay. So and to look at this in this perspective of the time, then we can really understand what we are doing actually to ourselves. So this is part of it, is the reason why I have started this company and just went to microalgae from all the different plant forms. I didn't go straight to any plant protein. I just went to microalgae because microalgae is the most sustainable form of feeding the world. Just a few statistics. Our microalgae uses 36 times less CO2 compared to beef. I'm not talking about 36%. I am talking about 36 times. It is 3,600%. Or land, our land is getting really, arable land is getting very scarce because it's just population, overpopulation is covering through urbanization usage. So microalgae uses 40 times less agrar land than, for example, what we would use for beef protein. The same thing is also water. We are so worried about water. The same, 44 times less water is used to create microalgae. So you see how sustainable the product is. And this is why I have said that, 3/4 of the world planet is covered by sea. So the solution needs to come from the sea. This is why we started with microalgae.
So algae is it's very interesting. And I want to know from you, Mina, when you started this and also during this past year and knowing all the challenges we are having in front of us, but do you have like this sense of urgency within you as a leader? Do you feel that?
Yeah, the urgency is, I felt that actually 5 years ago when I stopped working at Nestle and saying that Nestle is not quick enough, I need to do it myself. But I am so happy now after 5 years. We are now really a very well growing startup with lots of shareholders, people in believing it. And this is so positive. This shows the mental change of humanity. I think this crisis has been good in the sense also as a kind of a wake-up call for the whole humanity. And we will use this. I am a very optimistic person. We will use this. We have been always changing, adapting ourselves. So
thank you, Mina. And thank you for taking the risk that I'm sure you also felt when you jumped out of a multinational to start your own, but why not? Thank you for taking that that step. I would like to have a last also comment and statement from Claudia. Claudia, also in your sense, how has this sense of urgency been, and your risk taking also? I know you were also in a larger organization before, and stepping out there, becoming an entrepreneur in this new world.
Yeah, I mean, urgency, I am all of urgent. I mean, I'm just urgency. You know, I definitely want to grow this business a lot, just because just with the business, then I can contribute more, and I can contribute to a change of mentality. You know, fashion industry is, from where I come from, is very glamorous on the side, but also very, very cruel on the other side. You don't see that cruelty. I mean, it's not the only one. The food industry, of course, is extremely cruel as well. I agree with Mele, you know, I think we give ourselves so much importance. We need to save the planet. We need to save ourselves, you know. If you have seen the documentary of David Attenborough about life on the planet, there is a part where he shows Chernobyl, where there are no humans anymore, and the incredible nature has come back there. All animals, just species that are not to be seen in other parts of the world, and they are just thriving because a human being is not there destroying them. So, you know, if you are not there, the planet is going on just as fine, actually much better, of course. So we are just a tiny little inhabitant of this planet. And so it's ridiculous when we say, oh, we have to save the planet. No, 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 no. We are saving ourselves. That's it. And, you know, sometimes, I don't know, maybe when you are down, because it happens, even if, as Mele, I'm very optimistic. And I'm sure, you know, the world is going to that direction, that's for sure. We all know by now what meat industry is causing. We all know, you know, what the fashion industry is causing, etc. So we need to be more plant-based, etc. We all know that. So it's definitely going in that direction. Still, you know, when I'm down, I think, I mean, if we go extinct, that's not such a bad thing, you know, because we are such a destroyer. Maybe we are not evoluted enough for the future. And if we don't understand this through this crisis, it means that we are not smart enough, we are not evoluted enough, we should be extinct because we are not fit for the future. And that's it, you know.
Thank you, Claudia. We got so many realistic comments here today. And also, so, but what I would like to say as we are ending this morning is I'm so proud to have worked with you all here today, and there's so much courage amongst all of you. And I am over the years, you know, through WIN and the WINConference, I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you also before, and inspired. And I've always seen that with women, how having meaning at work is more important than status and hierarchy. And that happened a long time ago. What is happening now is that more and more women are daring to step out and take that risk, no matter what. And that is something I hope we can continue to see more of, and where we also need to help each other. Because stepping out as pioneers, whether it's simply being authentic in a large corporate where the male-dominated culture has been there for 100 or many years, so just being different in a culture that is not exactly your natural ground, that is being a pioneer also. So it doesn't only need to be Claudia or Mele who's starting their new companies. You can also be, or Antonella with her brain project. It can also be a new type of journalist, a new type of CEO in an already existing business. So I think it was very interesting. I think one of the key things that I got today is that there is this shift going on, and it's been happening this past year. And it started before COVID, actually, this uprising of women, these women being real now and saying, I want to take a stand for not only me, for my company, for my community, and for the planet itself, because it's also about us. The planet will go on with or without us. So I'd like to ask also from Morena, if you want to share one statement based on our conversation over this past 90 minutes.
Well, I'll take 3 words. One is education. we need to really invest in education to help women access the new professions of tomorrow, and especially technology and science and computer, and also give the opportunity to people to keep educating themselves all through their careers, because it's not once in a lifetime, we have to keep educating ourselves all through our life. This is what digitalization means. The second thing, I think we have to push in politics. If we are not there where the decisions are made, we are not going to advance. So I know it's, it's difficult, but it needs for every one of us to keep in mind that we vote. And when we vote, we have to make our vote weigh and tell the men that we'll weigh how they consider the gender question when we vote for a party or a politician. And then, and the third thing is that women have really to be committed to empower themselves. And we have to do this together. If we have tried to do it by ourselves, my generation, I thought that with merit, we would be able to come through, but it did not happen. To many of us, it did not happen. So it's not I, it's we, as many of you have said. It's also we as women together, and we should help other women achieve what we achieved. And this is probably our main, for my generation is our main goal, to give the testimony to the next generation, to the women of the next generation. And thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Morena. And yeah, so I wish you all a wonderful weekend and time ahead. And let's not forget what we have been sharing today, and that we bring that with us and continue to empower other women. Of course, we empower also men and all humans and animals and everything, but I think it is important, this point of empowering each other, inspiring each other. We go up and down, some days are easier than others, and this time has not only been easy. So let's keep that work up, and let's be real, and let's take little small steps towards that future in which we all can thrive together. So with that, I don't know if Giordano and anyone from CEO for Life would like to say anything.
Yeah, thank you all for your insights, your fresh insights. It's very interesting. One only question. Could we take a picture for the social networks? So if you want to strike up your pose for today, and thank you so much.
Okay, we put on.
Thank you so much. We also have Edwin with us today, the only man for today that helped me in the technical support. Yeah. So thank you all.
So the picture is taken?
Yes, the picture taken. You will see on the networks.
Thank you.
Bye,
thank you, Kristin.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kristin. Lovely meeting you all.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.